Chapter 559. 3,000 Years in the Drain. Lin Fei masters half of the Tao of the world. Lin Fei fell into deep contemplation. He understood clearly what this implied. It meant that under normal circumstances, reaching the fourth layer was the pinnacle of the Great Dream Heart Sutra. However, there evidently exists a fifth layer. This surely harbored some secrets. After all, the fifth layer of the Great Dream Heart Sutra cannot be exchanged. It must be personally imparted by the Great Dream Ancestor. As for the conditions needed to be taught the fifth layer of the Great Dream Heart Sutra, one must seek an audience with the Great Dream Ancestor to find out. But Lin Fei was not in a hurry. He now wanted to explore the wonders of the fourth layer of the drain. Thus, Lin Fei began to immerse himself in the drain. The second layer, the third layer, the fourth layer. Until he reached the fourth layer. Everything around Lin Fei seemed to have vanished. He had arrived at the fourth layer. The flow of time here was 10,000 times that of the divine realm. In other words, one day in the divine realm equates to 10,000 days in the fourth layer of the drain. Almost 27 years. This was a terrifying figure. A horrifying speed of time flow. Lin Fei, just like before in the third layer of the drain, began to evolve the world. He also started to seclude himself in the fourth layer, studying and comprehending the Tao of the world. After all, spending 10 or so days was still manageable. And 10 days in the divine realm. In the fourth layer of the drain, it equates to 270 years. Nearly 3 centuries, Lin Fei wasn't even 50 years old yet. Let alone secluding himself for nearly 300 years. But this was necessary to liberate the Tao of the world, allowing the Tao of the world to comprehend and cultivate on its own. To see to what extent the Tao of the world can be elevated. Currently, the cultivation progress of the Tao of the world was merely 17%. Surviving 9 heavenly thunders last time, he only gained a 10% increase in cultivation progress. Let's begin. Lin Fei took a deep breath. He then started evolving the world. Lin Fei had already found his rhythm. In evolving the world, whenever an inspiration or a flash of insight occurred in his mind, he would try to evolve it. Failure was inconsequential. After all, it was all within the drain. He was in control of everything. If he failed, he would simply start over. Time was abundant, even exceedingly prolonged. Lin Fei could fully immerse himself in evolving the world. As for whether he could comprehend, or how much he could comprehend, he left that to the Tao of the world. To let the Tao of the world comprehend and cultivate on its own. Time slowly passed. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Your Tao of the world has gained insight from evolving the world. Your Tao of the world's cultivation progress increased by 1%. After 5 whole years, Lin Fei's Tao of the world had increased by 1%. The effect wasn't as good as the last time, which took about 3 years. However, this wasn't certain. After all, comprehending the Tao requires a moment of enlightenment, a flash of insight. So, if a sudden insight occurs, the progress of the Tao of the world naturally increases. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. In the following period, Lin Fei's Tao of the world didn't have any new realizations. Or rather, no new flashes of insight. For 34 years, there was no gain. But when it came to 50 years, boom! The world Lin Fei was evolving in the drain suddenly expanded dramatically, as if it had undergone a metamorphosis. It seemed like the entire world had significantly increased in power, or rather, elevated in level. For instance, from a minor world, it elevated to a true monarch-level minor world. Simultaneously, Lin Fei heard the long-missed voice of the system in his mind. Your Tao of the world has a new comprehension. Your Tao of the world's cultivation progress increased by 10%. Lin Fei's spirit was jolted. The Tao of the world had directly increased by 10%, a rare occurrence. This indicated that the Tao of the world truly had a significant insight. In 50 years, the cultivation progress of the Tao of the world increased by 11%. Actually, this was quite remarkable. And Lin Fei's evolution did not stop there. 80 years, 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. Swish! After 300 years, Lin Fei suddenly opened his eyes. 300 years in the fourth layer of the drain. For Lin Fei, it had been exceedingly long. Yet, in the divine realm, only 11 days had passed. Lin Fei's consciousness swiftly returned to the divine realm. Looking around his private chamber at home, Lin Fei felt somewhat estranged. Having spent 300 years in the fourth layer of the drain, waking up felt like a lifetime had passed. This sensation was somewhat unsettling. After all, in the fourth layer of the drain, Lin Fei had genuinely, arduously cultivated for 300 years. If one were to immerse continuously in the fourth layer of the drain, continuously cultivating arduously for 3,000 years, or even 30,000, 300,000, or 3 million years, what kind of changes would occur? Lin Fei could no longer imagine. When the duration of arduous cultivation becomes overly prolonged, it's not entirely beneficial for the spirit. In fact, the longer one immerses in the dream and cultivates, the less likely one is to have inspirations. And even less likely to have insights into the Tao system. Lin Fei also wanted to say, in 300 years in the fourth layer of the dream, how much had the Tao of the world progressed? Host, Lin Fei. Martial Realm, Martial God, 8 Thunder Tribulations. Great Dream Heart Sutra, 4th layer. 4 Symbols and 5 Elements Creation Technique, 5,300 Particle Worlds. World Tao, Progress 28%. When Lin Fei saw that his Tao of the world had reached 28%, his first reaction was not excitement. Instead, he frowned, feeling a sense of heaviness in his heart. He remembered clearly, in the fourth layer of the drain, at 50 years, he had achieved an 11% increase in the Tao of the world. But after 300 years had passed, the Tao of the world had still only increased by 11%. That is to say, the subsequent 250 years were essentially fruitless. The Tao of the world hadn't even increased by 1% in cultivation progress. Indeed, arduous cultivation for its own sake is meaningless. The elevation of the Tao of the world requires a moment, an instant of enlightenment. Once there's an understanding, the Tao of the world can be elevated. However, although the effect of arduous cultivation isn't great, the cultivation progress of the Tao of the world is indeed increasing, and that's enough. Lin Fei contemplated. Now that the cultivation progress of the Tao of the world had reached 28%, it indicated that arduous cultivation in the fourth layer of the dream was effective. Moreover, this was only after a mere day's time. So, Lin Fei took a few more days to fully adjust his mindset and state. Then, he re-entered the fourth layer of the drain and resumed his arduous cultivation. Each arduous cultivation session for Lin Fei lasted 300 years, which was roughly a little over 11 days in the divine realm. This duration was just right. If the cultivation time were any longer, it would impact Lin Fei's spirit. 300 years was appropriate. Regardless of whether the Tao of the world improved, he would wake up, recover his mental state in the divine realm for a while, and then continue. Thus, the cycle repeated. 300 years, 600 years, 900 years, 1,200 years, 1,500 years. In a blink, Lin Fei had arduously cultivated for about 3,000 years in the fourth layer of the drain. Of course, these 3,000 years were not continuous but in intervals of 300 years. The total cultivation time amounted to 3,000 years. And Lin Fei's gains were significant. He achieved approximately 25% more in cultivation progress. Adding to the previous 28% progress, Lin Fei's Tao of the world cultivation progress had now reached 53%. This was more than half the progress needed for a complete understanding of the Tao of the world. Lin Fei had mastered half of the Tao of the world. However, at this point, arduous cultivation in the drain had essentially ceased to be effective. Or rather, there were no longer any new insights gained in the Tao of the world through arduous cultivation in the drain. In the last 300-year session, there was no improvement in Lin Fei's Tao of the world. Continuing to cultivate arduously in the drain had become meaningless. He needed to find another way. Chapter 560. An unexpected distress signal, a plea for help from Tao Tai. Lin Fei knew there were ways to elevate the Tao of the world. One such method was to undergo tribulation. If he could endure the 9th thunder tribulation and withstand 9 heavenly thunders, then the sea of origin would pull him into an illusion. Regardless of the method, it should somehow increase his Tao of the world. But how much it could be elevated was uncertain. Maybe 10%, or perhaps just 1%. Anything was possible. However, to face the ninth Thunder Tribulation, Lin Fei was not yet fully prepared. He had to continue preparing, strengthening his power. If my particle worlds could birth life, perhaps I could withstand the 9 heavenly thunders. Unfortunately, for life to emerge in the particle worlds within my body, it would take an incredibly long time. This is something the dream realm cannot assist with. Lin Fei took a deep breath. Not expecting life to emerge in his particle worlds anytime soon, he had to find another solution in a true monarch level world. He needed to find a true monarch level world on the verge of collapse. Whether it was to acquire the world origin of a true monarch level world or to obtain the world laws of a true monarch level world to enhance the Saber world, he needed a true monarch level world on the brink of collapse. Lin Fei decided to post a long-term task in Great Dream City to find such a world, hoping it would yield some results. He planned to wait for a year or two. If no true monarch level world on the verge of collapse was found within 10 years, Lin Fei had another plan. That was to apply to return to the ancient continent. According to the Great Dream Ancestor, the ancient continent held great benefits, even immense ones. Significant help for achieving the status of a martial ancestor. Of course, this was Lin Fei's last resort. He didn't want to use this method unless absolutely necessary. Previously, Lin Fei's cultivation was measured in days and months, but now it had extended to years. He had come to accept a reality. Upon reaching the true monarch level, the difficulty of cultivation probably increased tenfold or even 100-fold. Becoming a martial ancestor was indeed not easy. Thus, Lin Fei stopped his arduous cultivation. Instead, he frequently appeared in Ancient City, wandering around, gathering news about various true monarch level worlds. This was, in a way, his rest. After all, such leisure time was rare. But this peaceful period didn't last long. Lin Fei's communication stone vibrated. However, the person contacting him this time took Lin Fei by surprise. After all, he had few acquaintances in the divine realm, not even more than 10. Doubt I sending me a message is really... Lin Fei hadn't expected this. Doubt I, whom he had suppressed in the ancient continent and then thoroughly exploited before releasing his avatar. Even if he hadn't killed Tachi's avatar, they could hardly be considered friends. Doubt I might even harbor deep resentment towards Lin Fei. Why would he be sending a message now? And even a distress signal? True Monarch Lin, save me, please save me, True Monarch Lin. I've been captured by the Hydra in the All Beasts Alliance. All my avatars couldn't escape their fate. I beg you, True Monarch Lin, considering our past encounters, to save my life. I know some secrets of the Hydra. Not long ago, the Hydra swallowed a fragment of a true monarch level world. If True Monarch Lin can defeat the Hydra, you might learn the whereabouts of that shattered true monarch level world. Taoqi's message was straightforward. He seemed to have a good understanding of Lin Fei, or at least, he was always keeping an eye on Lin Fei. He knew Lin Fei had become a true monarch and was aware that Lin Fei needed a true monarch level world. That's why Doubt I sent him a distress signal. The Hydra. However, Lin Fei was not in a hurry. Instead, he remained calm. Setting aside whether the fragment of the true monarch level world swallowed by the Hydra was indeed from a shattered world, even if it was a true monarch level world on the verge of collapse, if even its fragments were consumed, what could possibly be left in that world? Its world origin was likely plundered already. Moreover, the Hydra was not an ordinary exotic beast. Lin Fei decided to gather more information. So, he went to Great Dream City to inquire about the Hydra. Upon asking around, Lin Fei obtained a lot of information about the Hydra. The reason was simple. The Hydra was a notorious figure in the All Beasts Alliance, counted among the top true monarchs. Its fame was widespread and many powers had detailed information about it. The Hydra had 9 heads, capable of swallowing heaven, earth, sun, and moon, even whole worlds. It once ravaged the divine realm, plundering world origins by directly consuming small worlds. Even uncollapsed small worlds were not safe from its maw. Terrifying indeed. Later, the Hydra's actions sparked widespread anger. After all, many powers in the divine realm needed small worlds. For instance, martial gods hoped to use the world origin of small worlds to enhance their physical strength for tribulations. Deity transformation powerhouses also required small worlds' world origins to comprehend the mysteries of the void. If the Hydra was allowed to keep devouring unchecked, could martial gods or deity transformation powerhouses withstand it? Wouldn't all the small worlds eventually be consumed by the Hydra? Thus, even martial ancestors personally intervened to slay the Hydra. Fortunately, the Hydra was a member of the All Beasts Alliance. The progenitor of the All Beasts Alliance intervened to save the Hydra, reaching an agreement with many powers. After that, the Hydra was forbidden from meddling with small worlds and indiscriminately devouring them. As for true monarch-level worlds, the Hydra couldn't swallow them unless they were on the brink of collapse. But true monarch-level worlds could give birth to true monarch-level powerhouses, reducing the Hydra's advantage significantly. Nonetheless, the Hydra remained one of the top true monarch-level exotic beasts in the All Beasts Alliance, even harboring a slim hope of becoming a progenitor. Doubt-I being captured by the Hydra was no surprise, causing panic and an immediate distress message to Lin Fei. Now, apart from Lin Fei, Doubt-I probably couldn't find anyone else with the capability or courage to rescue him. Only Lin Fei. After understanding this information, Lin Fei pondered. Should he rescue Doubt-I or not? Their relationship was nothing beyond mere acquaintance, and the decision would still depend on the benefits. The prospect of gain was crucial. The Hydra has swallowed a fragment of a true monarch-level world. If it really is a world on the brink of collapse, perhaps this is an opportunity. Anyway, going to the Myriad Beasts Alliance means dealing only with the Hydra. There shouldn't be too much danger. Lin Fei weighed in his heart. With his current strength, unless a martial ancestor or a true immortal intervened, Lin Fei feared no one. Apart from martial ancestors and true immortals, no one could kill him. This wasn't arrogance. It was confidence, a sense of security. All right, even if there's only a 1% chance it's a collapsing true monarch-level world, it's worth a try. Any opportunity, no matter how slight, should not be missed. Lin Fei had made up his mind. His task had been posted in Great Dream City for so long, but was there any response? None at all. A collapsing true monarch-level world was incredibly rare. Thus, Lin Fei had no other methods left to enhance his strength. The Hydra might be his only hope. Having made his decision, Lin Fei didn't hesitate. Boom. Lin Fei shattered the void in an instant. His figure flickered, stepping into the void passage, traversing the void. Chapter 561. Lin Fei arrives to save Doubt-I, the Hydra's fury. The Hydra sat arrogantly on a vast chair. Below it, Doubt-I lay prostrate on the ground. The Hydra's gaze was icy cold, fixed on Doubt-I. Doubt-I, feeling the threat of death, trembled slightly. It knew it was in serious trouble. Although it had sent out a distress message, would the person it contacted really come to its rescue? Even Doubt-I had no confidence. But apart from that, it had no other options. Lord, please spare my life. I didn't know that giant snake exotic beast was your offspring. If I had known, I wouldn't have dared to swallow it. Doubt-I kept begging for mercy. This incident was really unlucky for Doubt-I. A giant snake had accidentally intruded into its territory and started devouring various exotic beasts. Those exotic beasts came to Doubt-I to complain. Doubt-I, being a formidable god-level exotic beast in the Myriad Beasts Alliance, was furious. How could another exotic beast dare to run wild in its territory? So, Doubt-I went to confront the intruder. It saw the giant snake, which was just a peak king-level exotic beast, far inferior to Doubt-I. Doubt-I didn't care and simply swallowed it. The giant snake was shocked, unable to believe that Doubt-I would actually eat it. At the last moment, it claimed to be an offspring of the Hydra, but Doubt-I didn't believe it. The descendants of the Hydra usually have multiple heads. But this giant snake had only one head. Doubt-I had seen descendants of the Hydra before, and they definitely did not resemble this giant snake. So, Doubt-I simply swallowed it. After the giant snake died and Doubt-I learned of its true identity, it turned out to be a true descendant of the Hydra's bloodline. It was a unique offspring, apparently born from the Hydra and a martial god-level exotic beast, resulting in a bloodline mutation. Therefore, it didn't have multiple heads. Upon learning this, Doubt-I was filled with regret. Knowing the Hydra's brutal nature, Doubt-I realized it was likely doomed. Thus, it immediately sent a distress message to Lin Fei. Only Lin Fei could save it. Doubt I never imagined that one day it would have to seek help from someone it once loathed. Then, Doubt I was captured by the Hydra. You didn't know. The Hydra's gaze was cold as it spoke. Didn't you hear it reveal its identity as my offspring at the last moment? But you still swallowed it. Doubt I, you devoured my descendant. So I will devour you. With that, a huge head extended from behind the Hydra, inhaling fiercely towards Doubt I. Hydra? Do you really think to have no backing? If you kill me, you too will undoubtedly die. Doubt I, desperate, roared at the Hydra. Doubt I, you, a mere god-level exotic beast, dare to say I will die? Call any help you have, all at once. It's been a long time since I devoured so many powerful beings. The Hydra sneered. It was not intimidated by Tauchia's words. Its huge head continued to inhale fiercely towards Doubt I. Involuntarily, Tauchia's body flew towards the Hydra. The Hydra's mouth opened wider and wider, eventually forming a gaping maw, seemingly about to completely engulf Doubt I in an instant. Am I really going to die? Tauchia's heart was filled with immense fear. As an ancient god-level exotic beast, it had never imagined it would meet its end like this, especially being devoured by the Hydra. But Doubt I was powerless, completely suppressed by the Hydra, both in terms of bloodline and strength. The Hydra was about to devour it, and Doubt I had no means to resist. Suddenly, ripples of space appeared in the void. Then, a figure stepped out from the spatial channel, arriving instantly in front of the Hydra. This figure was not large, even appearing quite insignificant in the eyes of the Hydra and Doubt I. Yet, this very presence instilled a sense of threat in the depths of the Hydra's heart. Who are you? The Hydra immediately extended several of its heads, fixing its gaze on Lin Fei. Lin Fei glanced at both the Hydra and Doubt I, then flicked his finger. Boom. With that flick, an immense force burst forth, striking one of the Hydra's heads and obliterating it. Simultaneously, Lin Fei pulled Doubt I to his side. Doubt I didn't expect to find you in such a state after all these years, Lin Fei said calmly. Doubt I, overwhelmed with relief and excitement, voice trembling, hurriedly responded, You actually came. Thank you, true monarch Lin, for rescuing me. Doubt I was genuinely shocked. Sending out the distress signal was a desperate measure, a last resort. Among the true monarchs Doubt I knew, though Lin Fei was not the only one who would dare rescue it from the clutches of the Hydra was Lin Fei. I didn't come here for your gratitude. I hope, as you said, the Hydra really knows of a true monarch-level world. Lin Fei's gaze remained indifferent. The Hydra roared in anger. The head Lin Fei had obliterated instantly regrew. However, the Hydra was now seething with fury. In the All-Beasts Alliance, it was revered, and no one dared to defy it. Even against god-level exotic beasts, the Hydra could kill or devour at will. Who would dare to stop it? But now, someone had intervened, even blasting off one of its heads. While the Hydra could regrow its head, the act was a significant humiliation, fueling its immense rage. No matter who you are, if you dare to intervene on behalf of Doubt I and attack me, you will surely die. The Hydra sensed that this unexpected opponent was a true monarch and a martial true monarch at that. Though a martial true monarch was powerful, the Hydra was pleased. Martial true monarchs didn't have endless avatars. If it devoured this martial true monarch, it could ensure their complete demise. This was unlike those void transformation true monarchs, who, though not as strong, were extremely tricky to kill. If it were a void transformation true monarch, even the Hydra would find it troublesome. But a martial true monarch being so bold, the Hydra naturally felt a strong urge to kill. You want to kill me? Lin Fei stood calmly in the void, hands behind his back, looking proudly at the Hydra. Roar! The Hydra's 9 heads suddenly lunged forward, opening their massive mouths and inhaling towards Lin Fei. A terrifying suction force enveloped Lin Fei. Try to swallow me if you can. Lin Fei's body rapidly expanded, growing to tens of thousands of meters in size. Simultaneously, Lin Fei extended his right hand. Boom! This time, Lin Fei punched out, using only the power of his physical particles, still at the peak true monarch level. His punch shattered the void, the ferocious power instantly striking the Hydra's 9 heads. Chapter 562. 9 heads, 9 laws. With a squelching sound, the 9 heads of the Hydra exploded simultaneously under Lin Fei's tremendous power. However, the Hydra's body didn't fall. Instead, it manifested its true form. Its enormous serpent body tore through the void, swiftly coiling around Lin Fei's colossal divine form. The Hydra's 9 heads, which had just burst, instantly regenerated. Ha ha ha, you're doomed. Die. A glint of madness flashed in the eyes of the Hydra. In the next moment, it exerted immense force with its serpentine body, a strength beyond imagination. One of its heads suddenly opened its mouth wide, unleashing a mysterious power that sprayed onto Lin Fei. Imprison. With a low growl from the Hydra, Lin Fei felt the real might of the creature. Each head of the Hydra possessed a unique divine ability, almost akin to a law in nature. The power it exhaled was similar to a law, capable of instantly restraining Lin Fei. As expected, Lin Fei's body shook as if bound by an invisible force, leaving him at the mercy of the Hydra's tightening grip. The serpent's body began to constrict, gradually tightening around Lin Fei's divine form and eroding his particles. Particle worlds. Lin Fei's eyes were cold, his tone remarkably calm. Yet, as he spoke, turmoil erupted within him. Boom. The 5,300 particle worlds within him exploded with power, a force unimaginably formidable, far exceeding the Hydra's expectations. Crack. The void shattered once again. This time, the shattering also broke that imprisonment imposed by the Hydra. The head that had cast that imprisonment spell became lifeless and nearly breathless. Evidently, the explosion of power from Lin Fei's particle worlds had broken the restraint, causing a backlash to the Hydra's head. Simultaneously, Lin Fei's ferocious particle world power exploded. Boom. The Hydra's serpentine body was instantly blown apart and annihilated, turning to ash. The power of Lin Fei's 5,300 particle worlds was not something to be taken lightly. Once the particle worlds were unleashed, any force, as long as it was physical, would be annihilated. The Hydra's body was obliterated by Lin Fei's particle world power. However, its 9 heads remained indestructible, seemingly protected by some special means. As long as the 9 heads weren't destroyed, the Hydra wouldn't suffer severe damage. The annihilated particles could be restored in an instant. This was the strength of a true monarch-level exotic beast. After a brief exchange, the Hydra realized that the true monarch before it was no ordinary opponent, even incredibly powerful, likely a top-tier martial true monarch. But in the divine realm, top-tier martial true monarchs were renowned figures. No one would be unknown. Yet, the ancient Hydra couldn't recall any top-tier martial true monarch in its memory resembling the one before it. Who are you? The Hydra didn't attack again. Instead, it retreated a distance, looking cautious, and asked in a deep voice. Lin Fei, standing with his hands behind his back, said indifferently, Ancient Covenant, Lin Fei. Ancient Covenant Lin Fei. The one who withstood 9 heavenly thunders, unprecedented, with the potential to become a martial ancestor. The Hydra was shocked, finally realizing Lin Fei's identity. The Ancient Covenant's top talent was not just a top talent, but a top powerhouse. At least for the moment, the Hydra couldn't do anything to Lin Fei. For a moment, the Hydra felt annoyed. A top-tier martial true monarch and a member of the Ancient Covenant actually going to battle for a mere Dao Tai. This seemed utterly bizarre. True monarch Lin, are you really going to battle me just for Dao Tai? The Hydra asked in a dark tone. Dao Tai? Lin Fei replied, my act was merely incidental in saving Dao Tai. My true objective is a true monarch-level world. Hydra, I heard you've swallowed a fragment of a true monarch-level world. Where is that world located? If you can show me, I will leave. Lin Fei was direct. His goal was a true monarch-level world. Hearing Lin Fei's words, the Hydra's expression changed drastically. A true monarch-level world. That world has already shattered completely. How else could I have swallowed a fragment of it? Completely shattered. I'd still like to see it, Lin Fei insisted. The Hydra's eyes flashed with anger, but it said nothing more, just staring intently at Lin Fei. It understood that Lin Fei, set on finding a true monarch-level world, wouldn't easily give up. And how did this information leak? Suddenly, the Hydra turned its gaze sharply towards Dao Tai. Dao Tai, gritting its teeth, said, Lord, you were going to devour me. Is it wrong for me to seek help? Clearly, Taoqi's response was an admission that it had leaked the information. Taoqi's ability to sense anything it consumed played a role here. While others might not sense the swallowed fragment of the true monarch-level world, Dao Tai could. Luckily it did, or else its distress message would have gone unnoticed by Lin Fei, and it wouldn't have been rescued. Lin Fei, do you really think you have me defeated? When I roamed the divine realm, you were probably still unknown. HMPH, let me show you my true power. A fierce light flashed in the eyes of the Hydra. As one of the top true monarch-level exotic beasts in the All Beasts Alliance, it was not to be underestimated. Lin Fei had never taken the Hydra lightly, evident from the immense power of the 5,300 particle worlds he had just unleashed. If it were an ordinary true monarch, who could withstand the onslaught of Lin Fei's 5,300 particle world forces? They would have likely been obliterated. Yet, the Hydra withstood the attack. Although it was in a dire state, with only its 9 heads remaining, it indeed had survived. Lin Fei's attack, powered only by his 5,300 particle worlds, was not enough to overcome the Hydra. This alone was a testament to the Hydra's strength. The might of the Hydra had always been centered on its 9 heads, each possessing a unique divine ability. Previously, only one head had deployed its divine ability. Swish, swish, swish. As the Hydra spoke, one head after another appeared behind it. Simultaneously, 9 pairs of eyes coldly fixed on Lin Fei. A chilling murderous intent permeated the void. It was gearing up for a real fight. For a true monarch, physical destruction or being blown apart wasn't the end. Annihilated particles could be instantly restored. However, when resorting to their most powerful methods, it undoubtedly meant a fight to the death. Now, the Hydra was ready for a desperate fight, prepared to utilize the divine abilities of all its 9 heads. These 9 heads were the reason the Hydra could reign supreme in the divine realm, making it one of the most formidable true monarch-level exotic beasts in the Myriad Beasts Alliance. Lin Fei was now faced with the challenge of these 9 heads. Frost. One of the Hydra's heads emitted a blast of cold air. But this wasn't just cold air, it was the law of ice. Storm. Another head released a swirl of wind, embodying the law of wind. Each head, upon opening its mouth, unleashed a law. 9 heads meant 9 laws. And while most martial true monarchs comprehend only one law, the Hydra's advantage lay in its ability to wield 9. This advantage made it one of the top-tier true monarchs, even defeating many top-tier martial true monarchs. Even Lin Fei found it challenging to contend with the Hydra, as one head after another released a different law. His physical body was undergoing its most severe test, facing a force more terrifying than the 9 heavenly thunders of the 8th thunder tribulation. The slightest misstep could spell danger for Lin Fei. This was the first time since becoming a true monarch that Lin Fei faced such peril in a battle against another true monarch. Such formidable power, Hydra. Lin Fei's body was entangled, eroded, and frozen by these laws. It seemed as if he could no longer break free. With each law, his physical body continued to erode 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%. In a blink, more than 60% of Lin Fei's body had been eroded, and the erosion continued. The situation appeared to be extremely dire. Chapter 563. A collapsing true monarch-level world. Saber World. In the next moment, Lin Fei, without any hesitation, deployed Saber World. Boon. With the arrival of Saber World, the interior was isolated from the exterior. Simultaneously, 52 world laws fully integrated into Saber World, elevating Lin Fei's Saber World to the level of a top-tier true monarch, even capable of suppressing one. As Saber World descended, the Hydra immediately felt the pressure. Each moment, a relentless force bore down upon its 9 heads, and it had to resist. Otherwise, its heads would truly be suppressed. Therefore, the Hydra expended most of its strength to counter Saber World, which allowed Lin Fei's physical body to be freed and rapidly begin restoring its lost particles. In the blink of an eye, Lin Fei was fully restored. Lin Fei's strength was already formidable, and now, augmented by Saber World, he was the strongest beneath the martial ancestors. Therefore, Lin Fei had nothing to fear from the Hydra. Seeing the Hydra being suppressed by the power of Saber World, Lin Fei's particles vibrated. The power of his 5,300 particle worlds erupted. Boon. Lin Fei unleashed a punch, not just with the strength of his physical body but also bolstered by Saber World. Lin Fei's Saber World could enhance his physical body, especially now that its power had reached the level of a top-tier true monarch, making the augmentation even stronger. With this enhanced strength from Saber World, Lin Fei's punch carried an overwhelming power, capable of challenging the might of the Hydra. The battle between these two formidable beings had escalated, with Lin Fei now having the upper hand. The fate of the Hydra and the secret of the true monarch-level world fragment it swallowed hung in the balance as Lin Fei continued to exert his newfound dominance in the clash. Boom. In such a scenario, the power of Lin Fei's punch was immense. Even the Hydra, with its 9 heads, could no longer withstand it. One by one, Lin Fei burst 8 of the Hydra's heads. With the enhancement of Saber World, Lin Fei was unstoppable, invincible. No force could resist his punches, not even the laws unleashed by the Hydra's heads. Stop, stop. True Monarch Lin, I am willing to reveal the details of the true monarch-level world. Finally, the Hydra could no longer endure. Although it had 9 heads and was reputedly immortal, in reality, once all 9 heads were annihilated, it would die. Not wanting to perish, the Hydra, having lost 8 heads and facing total annihilation, chose to submit and save itself. It knew that if it did not speak, Lin Fei might burst its last head. The Hydra couldn't take that risk. So, Lin Fei stopped. He didn't continue to attack and obliterate the Hydra's last remaining head. The Hydra immediately began to restore its annihilated heads. This was a true monarch's immortality trait. As long as even a single particle remained, it could quickly recover. This trait, vastly different from void transformation true monarchs, was an incredibly potent recovery ability, also considered a form of immortality. However, facing Lin Fei's combined power of Saber World and his physical strength, the Hydra felt bitter. It had to acknowledge that Lin Fei possessed the capability to slay it. As the Hydra slowly restored its heads, Lin Fei stood with his hands behind his back, his gaze coldly fixed on the creature. He didn't hinder the Hydra's recovery. What difference would it make if the Hydra restored itself? Lin Fei, who had defeated the Hydra once, could do so again, 2 or 3 times, or even slay it altogether without difficulty. After the Hydra restored its 9 heads, it looked at Lin Fei, its expression complex and filled with a mix of emotions. Indeed, worthy of being true Monarch Lin from the ancient covenant. Surviving 9 heavenly thunders truly sets you apart. This time, I admit my defeat. And I am thoroughly convinced. As for the true monarch-level world you seek, I don't mind telling you. That world has indeed collapsed. Its world origin is gone. But it hasn't been completely annihilated. What benefits you can derive from it depends on your fate and fortune. The Hydra spoke frankly. Oh, there really is a true monarch-level world. Regardless of whether it has its world origin or not, lead me to it. Lin Fei immediately responded. Follow me, true Monarch Lin, said the Hydra. Then, with a step, it shattered the surrounding void and opened a spatial channel. Both of them stepped into the channel and vanished from sight, traversing through the void. Doubt I watched this unfold with a fluctuating expression, seemingly lost in thought and somewhat gloomy. It seems true Monarch Lin won't kill the Hydra. If the Hydra survives, will it come after me again? Even if I escape death now, what about the future? Doubt I was indecisive, seemingly wrestling with a difficult decision. Buzz. Ripples appeared in the void, spreading out in all directions like ripples on water. 2 figures flew out from the spatial channel. The Hydra, looking at a crumbling, fragmented true monarch-level world ahead, spoke with a complex expression, "This is the world. I'm not sure of its exact name. When I discovered it, it was already collapsing and quite fragmented. Even its world origin had been plundered. I planned to wait for this true monarch-level world to collapse a bit more before devouring it. But before I could, true Monarch Lin, you arrived." Following the Hydra, Lin Fei arrived in front of the collapsing true monarch-level world. His gaze fixed on this world, he immediately noticed that its world origin had indeed been plundered. It wouldn't take long, perhaps a month, half a month, or even just a few days, for this true monarch-level world to completely collapse and turn to dust. The Hydra could devour such a world, and doing so would bring it great benefits. However, now that Lin Fei was present, it was uncertain what he would do with this world. Lin Fei pondered for a moment before stepping into the true monarch-level world. Rumble. As he entered, the void in all directions began to collapse. Entering a true monarch-level world at such a time was incredibly risky. If the world collapsed, Lin Fei would also be annihilated. The destructive force generated by the collapse of a world is tremendously powerful. However, Lin Fei entered this collapsing world seeking benefits. Though the world origin was gone, he immediately sensed that the world laws were still present, albeit not entirely intact and somewhat damaged, which was expected given the ongoing collapse. Nevertheless, the laws retained about 80 to 90% of their integrity, which was sufficient for Lin Fei. Without the world origin, these true monarch-level world laws were still a valuable find. Realizing this, Lin Fei didn't hesitate. He reached out and grasped, causing the entire world to shake even more violently. With his grasp, a complete and intact law was forcibly extracted from the void, the world law. As soon as the world law appeared, the collapsing true monarch-level world shook even more intensely. Laws of the fundamental forces maintaining a world. Extracting them could bring a world to the brink of collapse or accelerate its destruction if it was already collapsing. Collect. With a flicker of Saber World, Lin Fei instantly captured the true monarch-level world law and absorbed it into Saber World. Then, without any delay, he swiftly left the true monarch-level world. Chapter 564. Sudden Summon by Great Dream Ancestor. Outside the true monarch-level world, the Hydra watched as the world underwent violent tremors, appearing as if it could collapse at any moment. Its eyes flickered with sharpness, weighing and hesitating. It could see what Lin Fei was doing, extracting the laws of a true monarch-level world. Typically, these laws could only be comprehended, and direct extraction was unusual. Undoubtedly, extracting them would accelerate the collapse of the true monarch-level world. The Hydra pondered whether a bold attack on the world at this moment might cause its immediate collapse, burying Lin Fei along with it. However, this was mere speculation on the Hydra's part. Taking such an action would mean a fight to the death with Lin Fei. If Lin Fei survived, the Hydra knew it would be doomed. After much consideration, the Hydra decided against taking the risk. Despite many thoughts flashing through its mind, it ultimately chose not to act. In the next moment, a figure emerged from the void. It was Lin Fei, unharmed, returning from the true monarch-level world. The Hydra felt a surge of relief that it had restrained itself from taking any rash actions. If it had, given how quickly Lin Fei reappeared, the Hydra would have been unable to kill him and would have only provoked his wrath further. Lin Fei gave the Hydra a deep look, slightly surprised that it hadn't taken advantage of his vulnerable state. However, since the Hydra cooperated, leading him to the true monarch-level world and refraining from attacking him, Lin Fei saw no reason to slay it. Moreover, there was no direct conflict between Lin Fei and the Hydra. Doubt I. Lin Fei had only incidentally saved it. Hydra, let's consider this matter settled, Lin Fei said calmly. I have obtained the laws and you can still devour this world. We both lose nothing. As for Doubt I, since I've saved it once, I hope you can spare its life. The Hydra, visibly relieved, nodded in agreement. As true monarch Lin commands, I will spare Doubt I. With that, Lin Fei stepped into a spatial channel, traveling through the void and disappearing without a trace. The Hydra watched the collapsing true monarch-level world, its eyes gleaming with sharpness. The world was deteriorating rapidly and might be completely annihilated in just a few days. The Hydra, not wanting to waste such an opportunity, was now free of worries since Lin Fei had spoken. Devour. The next moment, the Hydra's 9 heads opened their massive mouths, ready to use their innate abilities to devour the collapsing true monarch-level world. In the secret chamber within ancient city, Lin Fei re-emerged, having returned from his venture. He reflected on his unexpected gain, the true monarch-level world law with 80% integrity, which was a substantial acquisition for him. Lin Fei didn't hesitate to integrate this newly obtained true monarch-level world law with his Saber world. Unlike the 52 Divine Realm world laws he had previously acquired, this new law was to be completely fused with Saber world, becoming an integral part of it. As the law integrated, Lin Fei could sense Saber world's power increasing significantly. However, even with this enhancement, Lin Fei was uncertain whether Saber world was now strong enough to withstand all 9 strikes of the 9th Heavenly Thunder Tribulation. He needed to be absolutely sure of his strength before attempting it. Finding true monarch-level worlds, especially those on the brink of collapse, was exceedingly difficult. The task he left in Great Dream City remained unanswered. As Lin Fei pondered his next steps, wondering how much longer he should wait, a voice suddenly resonated in his ear. "Lin Fei, come see me in Great Dream City." Surprised, Lin Fei recognized it as the voice of the Great Dream Ancestor. He was still in his secret chamber, so how was the ancestor communicating with him? The voice seemed to come from his ears, but upon closer reflection, it appeared to be directly in his mind. Could it be that the Great Dream Ancestor was sending messages from the realm of dreams? But how was that possible? Lin Fei, having not entered the realm of dreams, was perplexed about how the Great Dream Ancestor could communicate with him through dreams. Unless the ancestor had reached a level where he could manipulate reality through dreams, it seemed impossible. Only such a capability would allow the ancestor to send messages to Lin Fei within the divine realm. Despite his shock and curiosity, Lin Fei knew he had to leave for Great Dream City. Concentrating his focus, he soon re-entered the city and swiftly headed towards the residence of the Great Dream Ancestor. The residence, located within Great Dream City, was peculiar. It remained hidden unless the ancestor permitted its discovery. This mystery might be tied to some secret or characteristic of the realm of dreams, but Lin Fei didn't dwell on it. Entering the ancestor's residence, Lin Fei found himself in a grand hall where he saw the familiar figure of the Great Dream Ancestor, sitting calmly with a serene expression. Disciple Lin Fei pays respects to the ancestor. Lin Fei greeted respectfully. The ancestor opened his eyes. "Lin Fei, come and sit," he said. Lin Fei sat opposite the ancestor, curious about the purpose of this summoning. The Great Dream Ancestor began. "Lin Fei, I hear your Great Dream Heart Sutra has reached the 4th level." Startled, Lin Fei realized the summoning was related to his cultivation. He responded honestly and respectfully, "Yes, Ancestor, my Great Dream Heart Sutra has indeed reached the 4th level, and I can now enter the 4th layer of the Dream Realm. However, I've heard there is a 5th level to the Heart Sutra, yet it feels as though my cultivation is already complete." Lin Fei took this opportunity to express his confusion and seek guidance from the Great Dream Ancestor, who held profound knowledge and understanding of the Great Dream Heart Sutra and its mysteries. Lin Fei felt that he had reached the culmination of the Great Dream Heart Sutra at its 4th level. He had no inkling about the 5th level, which seemed shrouded in mystery. The Great Dream Ancestor nodded in response to Lin Fei's query. "Indeed, your intuition is correct. The Great Dream Heart Sutra truly comprises only 4 levels. Once you cultivate to the 4th level and can enter the 4th layer of the Dream Realm, it signifies that you have reached completion. As for the 5th level, it is intrinsically linked to my path and the secrets of the Dream Realm. Thus, the 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra can only be imparted personally by me. To receive this teaching is to become my direct disciple. Lin Fei, are you willing to become my disciple?" Lin Fei was startled by the proposition of officially becoming a disciple. Theoretically, all members of the Great Dream sect were disciples of the Great Dream Ancestor, but this was only in theory. To become a true disciple of the Great Dream Ancestor required a formal initiation. Lin Fei now had this rare opportunity to become the direct disciple of the Great Dream Ancestor. However, Lin Fei didn't immediately accept the offer. After a long hesitation, he finally asked earnestly, "Ancestor, may I know why? Why are you willing to take me as your disciple?" Despite his inner desire to become a disciple of the Great Dream Ancestor, Lin Fei needed to understand the reason behind this sudden offer. Chapter 565. Becoming the disciple of the Great Dream Ancestor. The reason is simple. The 4th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra, the Great Dream Ancestor began. Do you think reaching the 4th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra is easy? Over the years, only a handful have successfully cultivated it. Including you, there have only been 3. Lin Fei widened his eyes in surprise. So many had attempted the 4th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra, yet only a few succeeded. He hadn't realized the sutra was so challenging, as he had managed to cultivate it without much difficulty. Ancestor, what exactly is the 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra? And if becoming a disciple is based on talent, what about the other 2 martial gods who reached the 4th level? Did they become your disciples too? Lin Fei asked, sensing something peculiar about the whole situation. The Great Dream Ancestor nodded and explained, "You're right. Anyone who reaches the 4th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra, I take as my disciple." You are the third. The reason revolves around the special nature of the fifth level. Those who have cultivated the fourth level have a good chance of achieving the fifth. Only by mastering the fifth level can one join me and others who have done the same to construct a divine realm within the dreamscape. Once the divine realm in the dreamscape is completed, all laws, world origins, and even life itself within it will mirror the external divine realm. We will become the masters of the divine realm within the dreamscape. Furthermore, if you attain the status of martial ancestor, you might glimpse the opportunity to achieve supreme. The gleam in the great dream ancestor's eyes, filled with fervent aspiration, struck a chord in Lin Fei. The notion of the supreme, a being transcending martial ancestors and true immortals, represented the pinnacle of existence in the divine realm, immortal, invincible. Information about such beings was exceedingly rare, almost non-existent. It seemed as if there were no specific cultivation methods for achieving such a status. It was as if becoming a supreme being was a matter of serendipitous fate rather than structured progression. Yet, here was the great dream ancestor, tirelessly working towards this lofty goal, even creating the fifth level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra and aspiring to construct a divine realm within the dreamscape. This ambition was almost unfathomable, highlighting the miraculous nature of the Great Dream Heart Sutra. Will constructing the divine realm in dream influence us in any way? Lin Fei inquired further. There will be no influence whatsoever. Moreover, this is merely a conjecture of mine. Whether the divine realm can be constructed remains uncertain. Yet, this is the path I must tread. Should you wish to become my disciple and cultivate the fifth level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra, I could offer you assistance, providing you with what you need most at this moment. The world origin of a true monarch realm. With a swift motion, Lin Fei raised his head. All other considerations vanished at that moment. The world origin of a true monarch. It was an offer Lin Fei could not refuse. As for accepting the Great Dream Ancestor as his master, Lin Fei was naturally not opposed. The only concern was the fifth level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra. However, Lin Fei still needed to understand the fifth level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra. Whether he could successfully cultivate it remained to be seen. If there were any issues, he could choose not to cultivate it. As long as he obtained the world origin of a true monarch, Lin Fei could then attempt to transcend the tribulation. By surpassing the ninth tribulation, he could continue to elevate the world Tao. If he could achieve the status of a martial ancestor, no matter what schemes the Great Dream Ancestor had, Lin Fei would fear nothing. The crux of it all lay in the world origin of a true monarch. With the world origin of a true monarch, everything else would be easily negotiable. With this thought, Lin Fei promptly bowed deeply and respectfully called out, "Disciple Lin Fei greets the master." And with that, he formally accepted his new master. "Very good," the Great Dream Ancestor exclaimed. "Here is the world origin of a true monarch level world. It serves no purpose for me, I bestow it upon you." With those words, he granted Lin Fei the coveted true monarch level world origin. However, Lin Fei was initially puzzled. They were in the realm of dreams, where everything granted by the Great Dream Ancestor should be illusory. What use could it have? His confusion quickly dissipated as the true monarch level world origin flew into his body. Boom! In an instant, Lin Fei's consciousness returned to reality and his body resonated with the power of world origin. To his astonishment, it was genuinely a true monarch level world origin. Interference with reality. Has the master truly attained the ability to influence reality through the dreamscape? Lin Fei wondered if the Great Dream Ancestor's real body was in the divine realm or within the dreamscape. Regardless of these mysteries, Lin Fei focused on refining the immense world origin. It tremendously augmented every particle of his body. The world origin given by the Great Dream Ancestor seemed extraordinary, far beyond a typical true monarch level world. Lin Fei couldn't fathom how the ancestor had acquired such a potent source. Lin Fei's physical form surged, multiplying tenfold, even dozens of times in strength. Phew! He didn't know how much time had passed, but Lin Fei finally exhaled deeply in relief. He had now fully assimilated the world origin of a true monarch, and his physical prowess had advanced by leaps and bounds. Coupled with the enhancements from the Saber world, Lin Fei was confident. He could now assuredly withstand the ninth celestial tribulation and endure the 9 heavenly thunders without any issues. Afterward, Lin Fei would also receive the rewards from the Origin Sea, potentially elevating the world's Grand Tao significantly. However, Lin Fei was not in a hurry to face the tribulation. After all, he was in the midst of accepting a master, and he had not yet received the mantra of the 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra. The primary purpose of Great Dream Ancestor urging Lin Fei to become his disciple was for him to cultivate the 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra. Thus, Lin Fei swiftly focused his mind and returned to Great Dream City to meet with Great Dream Ancestor, who greeted him with a smile, seemingly unchanged. "Greetings, Master," Lin Fei bowed respectfully. Great Dream Ancestor, with a smile, inquired, "How has the integration of the world origin gone?" "The disciple has integrated well and now possesses the confidence to transcend the 9 tribulations," Lin Fei responded honestly. "Excellent, it seems you have gained much. Now, you can cultivate the 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra with peace of mind. Please, Master, impart to me the 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra. I shall grant it to you. However, the 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra is unique. You must first enter the 4th layer of the drain." "Yes, Master." With that, Lin Fei's surroundings swiftly changed, 2nd layer, 3rd layer, up to the 4th layer of the drain. Everything around him transformed, yet the figure of the Great Dream Ancestor remained unchanged, still standing before him. Lin Fei was taken aback. He didn't know which layer of the Great Dream Ancestor truly inhabited. He had reached the 4th layer, yet Great Dream Ancestor appeared utterly immovable and unchanged, which was somewhat startling to Lin Fei. "We are here, the 4th layer of dreams," he mused. "Only in this realm can you find ample time to cultivate the 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra. This 5th tier of the Great Dream Heart Sutra is somewhat unique. It may require a considerable duration. However, with the 10,000-fold acceleration of time in the 4th layer of dreams, there are no concerns. Lin Fei, concentrate with all your might and focus every shred of your attention. The commencement begins." As the words of the Great Dream Ancestor trailed off, with a gentle flick, the Great Dream Ancestor pointed his finger, touching directly upon Lin Fei's forehead. Boon. Instantly, Lin Fei's mind trembled, followed by a thunderous roar in his mind as if his consciousness had suddenly turned utterly blank. Chapter 566. The 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra, the Divine Dream Realm. Lin Fei's mind went blank. Yet, the 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra appeared within his thoughts. It was completely different from what Lin Fei had anticipated. Previously, Lin Fei had speculated that the 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra might accelerate the flow of time. However, what manifested in his mind was not about the speed of time. Instead, it involved information about divine realms, laws, and such. Furthermore, there was the Divine Dream Realm. This 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra, in fact, had little to do with the rest of the sutra. It seemed to be merely a tactic used by the ancestor of the Great Dream to attract top-tier true monarchs. The Great Dream Heart Sutra comprised only 4 levels. Reaching the 4th level was to reach its limit. The limit was a time flow speed increased by 10,000 times. Lin Fei finally understood the so-called 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra was actually meant to perfect the Divine Dream Realm. Only those practitioners of the 4th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra could have ample time and insight to slowly perfect the Divine Dream Realm. What? Lin Fei opened his eyes. Before him stood the calm-looking ancestor of the Great Dream, his eyes revealing a hint of anticipation. "How is it, Lin Fei? Have you grasped the 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra?" Lin Fei nodded and said, "Disciple understands. Disciple wishes to visit the Divine Dream Realm. Of course, you may go anytime." With that thought, Lin Fei was within the 4th level of the Dream Realm. But with the 5th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra, his dream began to undergo a drastic transformation. Swiftly, Lin Fei found himself within the Divine Dream Realm. This realm was merely a fragment, not even 1/10,000th complete. Lin Fei looked further. It was just an outline, devoid of any world. How could one speak of perfecting such a realm? However, within the Divine Dream Realm, there were 2 figures, a man and a woman, both top-tier true monarchs. Upon seeing Lin Fei and the Great Dream Ancestor, they immediately approached and bowed, saying, "We greet Master." No need for formalities. The 2 looked at Lin Fei and smiled, saying, "Master, it seems we have a new junior brother." "Indeed, this is my newly accepted disciple, Lin Fei." "Lin Fei, So, the junior brother is the Lin Fei of the ancient covenant, renowned as a genius unparalleled in history. Lin Fei looked at the two and immediately guessed their seniority. They must have mastered the 4th level of the Great Dream Heart Sutra earlier than Lin Fei and were also accepted by the Great Dream Ancestor as top-tier true monarchs. Greetings, senior brother and senior sister. Lin Fei responded with respectful manners and a slight bow. For Lin Fei, such formalities were proper given their status. He learned their names. The man was True Monarch Bai Chen and the woman, True Monarch Chen Chen. Both were among the elite true monarchs. Although they were still some distance from becoming martial ancestors, they held the potential to reach such heights, unlike other true monarchs who had lost all hope. After all, they were the most outstanding among the Great Dream Sect's top-tier true monarchs. Master, how long will it take to perfect the Divine Dream Realm if we continue at this pace? No matter how long it takes, I am not worried. Martial ancestors are immortal. I have all the time in the world. As for you, perfect it if you can. If not, there's no need to force it. Lin Fei understood. The Great Dream Ancestor was in no hurry. After all, he had endless time. But true monarchs like Lin Fei had only 1,000,000 years of lifespan, not an endless one. Lin Fei now realized perfecting the Divine Dream Realm would bring immense benefits to true monarchs. In this process, it might even be possible to fully grasp their own paths and thus achieve the status of martial ancestor. The Great Dream Ancestor did not force anyone to hurriedly perfect the Divine Dream Realm. Each person would naturally strive to improve the Divine Dream Realm, as doing so was greatly beneficial for true monarchs as well. Master, I have some insights. Perhaps I might be able to refine the Divine Dream Realm somewhat. May I try? Lin Fei suddenly spoke up. True monarchs Bai Cheng and Chen Chen were slightly surprised. When they first arrived in the Divine Dream Realm, it took them a long time to even begin their attempts at refinement. Lin Fei was ready to refine it already. One must understand that refining the Divine Dream Realm is no trivial task. A single mistake could render all efforts useless, leaving no trace in the Divine Dream Realm. Only a realm that corresponds with the true Divine Realms can be perfected. Even the Great Dream Ancestor was visibly impressed, yet somewhat skeptical. Still, the Great Dream Ancestor nodded and said, if you have an insight, you can refine it at any time. However, keep one thing in mind. If it does not align with the Divine Realms as they exist in reality, then no matter how much you refine, it will disappear without leaving a trace. I understand, Master. Lin Fei was already aware of some of the Divine Dream Realm's profound mysteries. He took a deep breath, quietly adjusting his state. What he intended to refine was simple, it was the world. Lin Fei intended to create a world within the Divine Dream Realm. This would also benefit his understanding of the Tao of the world. His deepest insights were into the nature of worlds and what is most abundant in a realm. Worlds. These minor worlds also make up parts of the Divine Realm, like the ancient continent, for example. Of course, knowing about minor worlds does not imply one can perfect them. That would be impossible unless one truly had deep insights into the nature of world. And Lin Fei was particularly adept at creating worlds. After all, he had created the 4 symbols and 5 elements creation technique. Lin Fei closed his eyes. After a long while, swish! Lin Fei's eyes opened. Within the dream world, he was omnipotent. Anything and everything could manifest within the dream world be born. Lin Fei spoke with tranquility, pointing towards the void of the Divine Dream Realm. With that single gesture, the void trembled. It was as if something had explosively burst forth. With the sound of the explosion, a point appeared. This point expanded continuously, radiating a powerful aura that was subtly discernible. Seeing this point, whether it was True Monarch Bai Chen, True Monarch Chen Chen, or the Great Dream Ancestor, their eyes were fixated on Lin Fei, on this point. They sensed, within this point, there lay unimaginable power and essence, and even many laws. World is born, laws emerge, maintaining order. Lin Fei's voice remained even. As his words fell, the shaking point gradually stilled. And with it, an aura of a minor world spread throughout the void. This was a minor world within the Divine Realm. Now, Lin Fei had perfectly replicated a minor world. This was simply incredible. A minor world, this is a minor world. In the divine realm, possessing thousands of worlds, only thus can one truly be divine. Master, junior brother Lin is truly remarkable. With these minor worlds, won't the perfection of the divine realm be significantly advanced? Who would have thought that as soon as junior brother Lin arrived in the divine dream realm, he would make such a significant contribution to its perfection? Expressions of amazement filled the faces of the great dream ancestor and the other two.